And welcome to a special edition of Weather Geeks from the AMS Annual Conference in Phoenix, Arizona. Today we're going to be talking about messaging the weather, and I am joined by two experts that know something about weather, but also communicating the weather. I'm joined by Dr. Kim Koloko, a UCAR postdoctoral researcher, and also Professor Susan Jasko of California University of Pennsylvania, who is an expert in communication studies. Thank you both for joining me today.
Happy to be here.
So perfect. Yeah, look, we're here at the AMS. We've got really great science and technology. We get the forecast right quite a bit of time, even though people say that we don't. Yet people are still losing their lives. We see quite a bit of property damage. Susan, the forecasts are pretty good, but what are our challenges in terms of messaging it?
Well, I think one of the big challenges, Marshall, in terms of messaging, especially about weather, is that the media landscape is so cluttered with so much information, and people carry their mobile devices around. We are exposed to a sea of messages that we live in, that most of us have developed a kind of defense mechanism to block much of it out. So getting through that clutter, I think, is one of the very first biggest challenges.
Right, and we'll deal a little bit also with the other aspect, the social media-ologist as well, and some of the challenges there. Kim, sort of as we get this discussion started, what do you see as some of the big challenges as we start to think about social sciences, and I know there are even some issues using that term, and meteorology?
Sure, and there are a number of challenges, but I think one of our goals is to help bridge this gap between how meteorologists understand the weather and relate to it, and how their audiences do. And part of communication is an exercise in mutuality and understanding the perceptions, values, beliefs, attitudes, and experiences of those you want to communicate with. And we've started as a scientific community making technology better so that we can detect tornadoes, so that we can predict the intensity of hurricanes. And now we're actually in the enviable position where we can start thinking about how it is that we relate to the people that we want to talk to, who we want to influence.
Yeah, the pressure's on because 9 days out, we knew Superstorm Sandy was going to make a hard left. With the Moore and El Reno, we know those tornadoes were there. Think about some of those incidents, or the Atlanta snow jam, which was close to me. Susan, are there things that, as you know about those events, that just could have been done differently to aid in warning or communicating to the public on some of those specific high-profile weather events?
Well, I think there's probably a number of things maybe that could be done there, but certainly those instances vary just a little bit. And I think in some cases one of our key problems is still getting the decision makers, right, to get their full attention early enough so that they can augment the messaging, right? So as we know, many people look for verification, right? So the National Weather Service will extend its warning, right? Mm-hmm. The local broadcast community jumps in, but people still also look for other verifications. So city officials, for example, and governmental officials, we need them on the same page sooner. So working through the integrated warning teams, for example, working through gatherings like that, I think building, as you said, a mutuality, right? Communication starts with this mutuality, that will help.
And we're in an era where people are talking more and more about social sciences, and as it was talked about in the Was Is panel just yesterday, social sciences, there's psychology, there's communication, it's just not social sciences. But do we have the right approaches and mechanisms to integrate properly some of these things into operational meteorology, or is it just all on PowerPoint slides?
Well, so far, we're part of the problem is that this is sort of new for our field to try to think about these questions in these contexts, and there are so many academic traditions and disciplines. And even in disaster sciences, there isn't a unified place where all of this is studied under one house. There are risk communication scholars. There's a tradition from geography where there are disaster researchers, and they study different kinds of questions in different ways. And even getting that community together to speak among themselves can be a challenge. There are in the social sciences people who study research qualitatively, people who study it quantitatively, and sometimes these people fundamentally disagree about the conclusions you're able to draw from your studies. It's difficult for meteorologists to plug into these very diverse groups and to know what's good research, what questions should we even ask? We don't even know who we're supposed to be talking to, a sociologist, a psychologist. And so the mechanisms need to emerge where we're able to bring together the people who have access to the literatures, who know the kinds of questions that can be addressed, but understand enough about what meteorologists are talking about that they can plug in back and forth.
Now, Susan, as an expert in communication studies, one of the big aspects of communication these days is social media. GFS says there's a hurricane out in the Gulf of Mexico 8 weeks out, and someone will forward that or tweet it. That's ridiculous. But there are also positive aspects of social media as well. What's your take on social media and weather?
Well, I think that each form of media has an inherent set of characteristics, right? And we, I think, often naively approach them all in the same way. But I think there are both some strengths and weaknesses. So clearly one weakness, if you will, about social media is both its strength, which is this common universal access, this easy access, right? So anyone can produce content, basically, right? And so what we don't have there is any gatekeeping the way we have in traditional forms of media. So it's a strength in terms of getting information in, for example, right? So for emergency managers, for example, there's a lot of heavy use of social media, both Facebook and Twitter now in particular, right, to see down trees and that kind of thing. The downside, of course, is that everybody has access, and it's an avenue to, for Andy Warhol's, right, 15 minutes of fame.
15 minutes of fame. That's
Everybody
right.
wants their 15 minutes of
Or
fame.
132 characters of fame, or whatever you call it these days. Kim, what are your thoughts on social media?
It's such an interesting space to try to communicate in. The democratization of access to information obviously has so many positive benefits, and we can, in a profound way, gather data and listen to people through things, through media outlets like Twitter. It's an information source for researchers.
Yeah.
We love this. But there are profound challenges, because everyone has access and has a voice, in keeping authority to information and consistency. One of the primary objectives of good risk communication is to have a consistent message. And we have in the meteorology, just in our community, we knew we already had different voices in the private sector, in the government sector, and we were all trying to learn how to work together to have a unified voice, and a voice that everyone can sort of participate in different ways. And now we actually have this mechanism by which anyone can join our sphere, and it's making for a very difficult landscape to manage.
Okay.
And for helping people to understand how they should respond to risk, that's a profound challenge.
Yeah, well, let's continue the conversation. When we come back from the break, we're going to continue with these two experts, because we've got to get the message out there. We're at the AMS annual meeting in Phoenix. More Weather Geeks coming back soon.
Introducing new Flonase Allergy Relief Nasal Spray. Now available over the counter in full prescription strength. When we breathe in allergens, our bodies react by overproducing 6 key inflammatory substances that cause our symptoms. The leading allergy pill only controls 1. Flonase controls 6. And 6 is greater than 1. Flonase, the 24-hour relief that outperforms the #1 allergy pill. So go ahead, inhale life. New Flonase. 6 is greater than 1. This changes everything.
Hi, this is Connor. Sorry I missed you. I'm either away from my desk or on another call. Please leave a message and I'll get back to you just as soon as I'm available. Thank you for your patience at this busy time.
Join us for stargazing with Discovery at Sea. Enjoy 7-day cruises from $4.99. Call your travel consultant or 1-800-PRINCESS. Princess Cruises. Come back new.
Ring, ring.
Progresso.
I can't believe I'm eating bacon-enriched creamy cheese before my sister's wedding.
Well, it's only 100 calories, so you'll be ready for that dress.
Uh-huh.
You don't love the dress?
I love my sister.
40 flavors, 100 calories or less.
This March.
One man's trash.
This is perfect.
Is another man's wood-powered Jeep gasifier.
Brainstormers. Premiering Sunday, March 22nd, only on the Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 79 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Today, partly cloudy. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. High 80. Winds east-southeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Tonight, partly cloudy. Chance of a shower or thunderstorm through the evening. Low 70. Monday, abundant sunshine. High 82. Winds east at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
When you go out there, it's dangerous.
Don't miss Founders Days at Pep Boys, where you can get 1921 prices on items store-wide, like a Torin 2-ton floor jack, just $19.21. And when you buy 3 select tires, you get the 4th one free instantly. Trust the boys to get you there.
Good job. Still running in the morning?
Yeah.
Getting your vegetables every day?
When I can.
Could have had a V8. 2 full servings of vegetables for only 50 delicious calories.
The future of the market is never clear, but at T. Rowe Price, we can help guide your retirement savings. Our experience is one reason 100% of our retirement funds beat their 10-year Lipper averages. So wherever your long-term goals take you, we can help you feel confident. Request a prospectus or summary prospectus with investment information, risks, fees, and expenses to read and consider carefully before investing. Call us or your advisor. T. Rowe Price. Invest with confidence.
Most homes have air leaks and drafts that waste as much energy as leaving a window open in your home all year long. Call Champion Windows at 844-4CHAMPION. When you buy 2 rooms of windows, you'll get the 3rd room free. Call today, because every home needs a champion.
And we're back at the AMS Annual Conference in Phoenix, Arizona on Weather Geeks, and I'm joined by Dr. Susan Jasko and Dr. Kim Koloko, 2 experts on messaging the weather. Now, Kim, one of the things that we hear sayings like turn around, don't drown. We have tornado watches and warnings, and people will heed those. And then when the next event comes, there's a tendency sometimes to either forget the severity of that event or let their guard down. How do we deal with that and getting people to take warnings seriously and consistently?
You know, it's really interesting. We actually just came from sessions where experience was talked about. As a research community, we're trying to delve into this idea of what are meaningful experiences. What are dimensions of experiences that are meaningful? For example, the May 31st tornadoes in Oklahoma, the El Reno tornado, where we saw mass panicked fleeing. Not everyone had experienced the Moore tornado on May 20th directly, but many people experienced it indirectly. There's a community-based response. It's actually a very challenging question to answer, how it is that we should think about previous experiences, tap into those, and use those, and how people actually do use those in how they respond the next time. It's not actually abundantly clear how that happens. The literature sort of diverges on that very question, and I actually suggest this is something we need to research a lot more.
Yeah, now, and I want to pick up on something you said, because some of those Moore, Oklahoma, and El Reno, we had conflicting messages, even from people, meteorologists that people trust. Some were saying stay at home, some were saying go underground, some were saying get in your car and drive. How do we deal with conflicting messages from people that actually the public supposedly trusts?
I think the answer to that is to get rid of the conflicts. I don't think there's any other better solution to that problem, right? Is to do a better job of making sure that the message stays consistent. I mean, everything from selling us soap, right, to communicating urgent messages, right, life-saving messages, the pattern is the same. It needs to be consistent, it needs to be clear, and it needs to dominate in the message landscape.
Right. Now, uncertainty. We as scientists or in the science community in general understand uncertainty, and it's not this big bad word, but when the public hears uncertainty, they don't know what they're talking about. Even though an 80% chance of rain, they'll grab an umbrella, but there's usable information in there. How do we best communicate uncertainty?
I love this question. That was actually the focus of my dissertation.